Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. I hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things that you love to do with those that you love to do them with. Please do me a favour, guys. Hit the like button for me on the video if you enjoy the content. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already to join the channel. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. It's Monday. Happy Monday. The preparatory work for Villa, one of the biggest games of the season for Tottenham, starts today, at least for Tottenham. Maybe not so for Villa, less time for them to prepare. They have to go away to Europe first, away in Amsterdam to take on Ajax in the Conference League. One of the more challenging fixtures that you would have thought that Villa could have got in that particular competition. But look, Ajax aren't the same team that they have been in the past, going through some of their own problems internally. But listen, for sure it's a little bit of an advantage that they get to play us at their ground where they're formidable. But they have to take on two European ties in the sandwich, if that makes sense. And so Tottenham really should have no excuse to be fully prepared and take advantage of that little opportunity in the window that is afforded us. You could say the same for the game against Palace. We had 2 weeks off, no excuses, time to prepare. And it was interesting looking at the kind of the feedback after the game, from my thoughts, from the thoughts of people I had on, then watching some of the other channels and their thoughts and takes on it. And, you know, I feel like it's a very mixed bag of feedback. I think most people thought that the first 70 minutes weren't great from Tottenham. Difficult to break Crystal Palace down. And the final 25 minutes we kicked into gear and we were, you know, back to our kind of Angeable self. And I think that's reasonable. I tend to look at this one through more positive lens. I think that, you know, I've been fairly critical of Ange recently, but I actually don't think that Ange got this one too far wrong. I think that the setup of Glasner's team was quite interesting. He kind of squeezed the life out of the game with that high line. And I think that what you have to look for from the players on the pitch, if you're going to critique, from my perspective, if you're going to critique and analyse why we couldn't do better in the first 70 minutes of that game, I think you have to look more towards the players for not picking up on some of the opportunities to exploit Crystal Palace's system. They sat with a very high line. When we didn't have the ball, when we had the ball and they didn't, they went into like a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1, as most teams are going to do against Tottenham at the stadium. But if you compress the system as well, then there was space behind. There was a lot of space between the back five of Palace and the goalkeeper, even though all 21 players on the pitch were in the Palace half. So it was all very compressed, condensed. And you could see James Maddison, who, apart from the flick for the Romero assist, I thought he had a quiet day on balance when I first watched the game. Having watched it back and thought about it, I actually think I'll try and give him the credit where it's due, that he was always trying to look dangerous. He was always trying to find the pocket, trying to find the space to thread a ball through. And it didn't really, there wasn't that many opportunities to do so, in no small part, in my opinion, because of the way that Palace set up. Where there were opportunities was down the width, Timo Werner and Decky, but when they stand on the edge of the offside trap, then there's no ability to kind of take a run with the pace that especially Timo Werner has. There's no ability to kind of to break and make that run obvious for the person with the ball, like a Romero or a Bentancur when he was coming deeper, or a Bissouma. And what I was looking for from my vantage point, I was hoping that Timo Werner could drop deep, maybe 3 or 4 yards, and then start the run early, similar to how Chelsea figured out how to play against us in the final sort of 25 minutes of the game when we lost 4-1, I think it was. It took them a while to figure out that you start the run from deep and the space was behind. And I would have liked Timo Werner to have done it. I would have liked there to have been a little bit more peripheral vision from some of the midfielders and the defenders who had the ability to spray those passes, but it wasn't coming. And I don't think that you can always necessarily rely on a manager, especially one who doesn't really communicate too much from the sidelines, to always tell the players where the opportunities lie. You know, I think they have to be smart enough and agile enough and clever enough with their IQ to be able to figure it out for themselves as a team, or at least as an individual who could spot it, to kind of communicate that through the kind of zeitgeist into the minds of the rest of them. It wasn't really coming. But ultimately, when you really reflect on the game, I think Tottenham did dominate. Palace didn't create much. They had a couple of chances. I think Mateta had a chance early doors, but he skied it over the top. Apart from that, there wasn't really that many chances for Palace, apart from the free kick, which was a world-class free kick, although aided, I think, I personally, I put a video up showing, I caught a good angle of it from my seat. I put a video up showing the setup, and it looked, on first instance, as though there was two different walls and we were set ours up too far to the left as you look at the goal. But I think actually, again, on reflection, if you see, I think that maybe Vicario was preparing or expecting a left footer to whip it on the outside, which is why he set the wall up a little bit there. But in reality, it was always going to be Eze. And look, you know, it was a pinpoint perfect shot into the top corner. So maybe I'm a little bit harsh, overly critical of it, but you know, you have to say how you see it. And I think that we could have done better there. Apart from that, though, you know, Palace didn't really create too much. Tottenham were kind of huffing and puffing, but struggled to blow the door down until we got the first goal. And then, as I said in the post-match fan show, the kind of noise and the energy and the atmosphere kind of sucked the ball into the net, and it was kind of a fait accompli once we got the leveller. I spoke to Guy Masterson, who I'm going to get on the channel. See you, buddy. Cheers, Chris. Tottenham fan. I'm going to get him on the channel as well, by the way. He works for a youth trust system down here. It's really cool what he's doing with underprivileged kids. So we're going to get him on the channel and talk about all that stuff that they do with the football world. It's very cool. Anyway, yeah, Guy was saying, you know, the atmosphere. We were talking about the atmosphere at the stadium. Should the fans be the catalyst, or is the catalyst the goal? But it does take that. You know, I think that in the first 70 minutes at Tottenham, we were very quiet as a stadium. And when you've got 62,000 seater stadium that is built with acoustics in mind, then I think you're going to amplify the noise when it's noisy, but I think you also amplify the silence as well if there isn't that kind of energy coming from the crowd. And you know, of late, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of that there. I'd love to get your thoughts as to why you think that is, or if you agree, if you disagree. But I think that the silence was deafening a little bit at times in the first sort of 60 minutes, especially when we went 1-0 down. It matters not. We got the 3 points, and it's super important, guys. Super important that we got the job done. I still think that there's issues with some of the tactics, as I've just alluded to in a couple of different scenarios. I think we're missing a couple of key components to the team that can really be the difference going forward. But there was lots of things that I liked about the way we set up in Palace. I did think we controlled the game, and I think Basuma's sitting 4 or 5 yards a little bit deeper, and Bentancur doing the same thing. Bentancur drifting out to the wide right, allowing Emerson Royale to come in. I think that there was some interesting adaptations of the system that I've been looking to see. I don't necessarily think you need the 6 to kind of come forward too much. Sit back, sit deep, control the pocket, be a bit more reassuring for the players around you. I think there was some good stuff, and ultimately we got the job done. I'm pleased, because anything other than 3 points would have really been a difficult pathway then to get to the 4th spot. And as I said at the start of this video, I don't know whether or not, you know, the top 4 race is going to be meaningful at the end of the season anyway. This is part of the problem with the power brokers, the bureaucracy around UEFA and FIFA and the FPL, the Premier League, the FA. They want to have too much power, and their power is built around processes that are taking too long, and it spoils the ability to celebrate moments in isolation. You know, we can't celebrate a goal for 5 minutes until someone in a studio somewhere has drawn lines on a screen. We can't celebrate promotion or relegation or staying in the division until we know that we passed FFP and PSR rules, and that any punishments that have been appealed have gone through the appeals process, which doesn't take place until 5 days afterwards, which is what we're going to see this season. It's a madness. You can't celebrate on the final day whether you know for sure. If you're a Burnley fan, or a Brentford fan, or a Forest fan, or an Everton fan, or a Sheffield United fan, whoever it could impact 5 or 6 different teams, this system, this idea of Everton and Forest being deducted points and then appealing the points deductions. And now, you know, with the coefficient thing in Europe, you don't really know until the end of the season, again, after the Premier League season is finished, how many points each club that are participating are contributing to their country's coefficiencies. And so we won't know whether or not, you know, finishing 4th finishing 5th is Champions League or Europa League until after the season's finished. It's another sad state of affairs where the bureaucrats and the power brokers are getting their oar involved in things that they don't need to, overly complicating things and taking away the ability for fans to enjoy the outcomes in the moment. I hate it. I'm not sure what the right solution is, but I know that the problems that this one is the problems that are trying to be solved are not being solved, and new problems are emerging all the time. Decision makers need to be better in all the parts of the game because it's being spoilt at the moment massively. But look, to me, guys, this is just a little chit chat with you. I feel like there's a massive improvement. Palace was a massive improvement on Wolves. Still a lot of work to do. It's a work in progress. I actually think Ange Postecoglou deserves a lot of credit for this particular one. I was excited by the team when we started. I didn't think that he was responsible for the players not figuring out where there was opportunities to exploit Palace's system. I think the players were responsible for that in the first half. I thought his substitutions were inspired, timed to perfection, and we got the job done, and we go rolling on. Villa will be an interesting game nonetheless. I really hope that they have a long, tiring journey over in Holland, and it will be a fascinating game on Sunday. It really will. I'm hoping to get tickets to it. Time will tell if they come through. But in any event, we're going to be doing some videos today. I might do a stream tonight. I'm going to up the content now. I feel like I've been a little bit negligent. There hasn't been much to talk about. And whenever we have spoken, the feedback has been fairly critical from a few noisy people. But listen, I don't care. It is what it is, right? You got to say, you have every right to say what you want to say about the content that's on here, and we're going to keep doing what we want to do. Like, subscribe, and comment, or don't. I'll see you on the next one, guys. And as always, bye-bye.